President Obama just moments ago again urged Congress to make tough choices in order to come to a debt reduction deal. Republican leaders, though, still insist that tax increases can't be part of the package. Well, our White House correspondent Julianna Goldman was at the president's news conference. She joins us now with one of Mr. Obama's top economic advisors. Julianna?
That's right, Lisa. I'm joined by Gene Sperling, the head of the President's National Economic Council. Gene, thank you so much for the time today. In the news conference, the president said that he wants to see from Congress substantial progress by the end of this week on these debt and deficit talks. What exactly does that look like? Does that mean a deal by the end of this week?
I think the important thing is that we get back on track. We made very good progress under the bipartisan Biden group that the president had called for and organized. We made a lot of, we went through a lot of specific cuts. We're well over $1 trillion. And I think the president believes we should be back at the table talking. The president is doing that in one-on-one conversations. So talks are continuing. But what we really need is what always happens in a bipartisan deficit reduction package, a sense of balance, shared sacrifice, and compromise. And the president's been very clear that he's for putting almost everything on the table, but you can't have a deficit reduction plan that is going to ask seniors and the middle class to do all the sacrifice and then decide that special interests, those who are most well off, are completely left off the table. That's just not how you have a shared sacrifice deficit reduction package. And I think what he's calling for is entirely reasonable and consistent with past bipartisan agreements.
But are Republicans still insisting on no new sources of revenue to be part of this agreement?
Look, we're in the middle of a negotiation, and people take all sorts of positions. But I think the reality is that I think they know as well as we do. The numbers don't work. The sense of seriousness to markets and others that everybody's being asked to contribute is not as effective. If you decide that you can't even touch special interests, tax expenditures for even the most well-off Americans, all of the bipartisan groups, Simpson-Bowles to Minichi-Rivlin, every bipartisan effort makes clear both Democrats and Republicans got to be willing to put some of their sacred cows on the table. The president's willing to compromise. He wants to get this done. He doesn't want to play chicken with the full faith and credit of the United States government and doesn't want Republicans to do so at all.
Well, then how real is the threat of a default at this point?
Look, I believe that people will be responsible ultimately, that they will remember that over the last 220 years since our founding, the credit of the United States has been impeccable. That's part of who we are. That's part of how Alexander Hamilton helped start our country, our finances. Nobody, no matter how much conviction they have, should use the first default of the United States government as a bargaining chip in a deficit reduction package. So people should come together and make the kind of balance and shared sacrifice we need. And that means being willing to put on the table tax expenditures for corporate jets, for oil and gas, for tax expenditures for the most well-off Americans.
Well, but the president, he did sort of go beyond what he had been saying, just calling a default catastrophic. And he said he's been restrained here because he doesn't want to cause panic. But we already are seeing some concerns in the markets, and we already are seeing some potential ratings downgrade threats.
Well, absolutely. You've seen threats of downgradings. And if this goes to the wire, we'll see. Many people wonder, should they roll over their debt? Will that have an effect on interest rates? But here's the real question. We're at a point of our recovery where we need more momentum. This is about job growth. It's about investment. It's about confidence. Why would anyone play games with that? Why would any elected, serious public official who is concerned about our job growth and our confidence play a game of chicken on the default of the United States government? So we're very hopeful that the leadership of both parties with the president, despite some of the tough words you hear, will come together and do what's best for our country right now.
All right, well, Gene, thank you so much. And we know that you will be in the room when those negotiations are being worked out.